Good evening. I'd like to call this December board meeting to order. We'll have a word of prayer and then we'll do the pledge. Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day. God, thank you for this group of people here that's willing to serve. God, I just ask that you to help us tonight make good decisions for this school system, God. God, just give us direction and give us wisdom. God, we just pray right now for the school, for your hand of protection over it, everything that's done. God, and as they finish out before Christmas, God, I just pray your hand upon them. God, bless us tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have our consent items, which is our agenda and the minutes, fundraiser for art, and the rental facility from Pop Warner. So, any questions about any of those?
Going to mention deletion of number 8. As they approve it. Right.
Okay. The calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The, and also fiscal year 25-26 calendar.
Delete off the agenda.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know what you're saying. Yes, we'll also be deleting item number 8, the fiscal year calendar of 25-26, until the fall, until January meeting.
And what about 9? What are we doing with it?
House bill will be discussing it.
No, 9.
9 is
The calendar. What did you say about the calendar?
No, the numbers about.
We're gonna delete off this
The calendar we'll do in
agenda.
January.
We're gonna leave it off.
We're gonna leave it off. We'll be approving it in January, so.
Yeah, they flipped on this portion.
It's flipped on mine too, so.
We'll just leave it with that.
Yeah, so the consent items are the agenda, the minutes, the fundraiser for art, the rental facility, and deleting the calendar for this month.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Mr. Heitman, second
Second.
by Mr. Munger, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, participation, I'm assuming.
No, sir.
All right, we'll move on to financials. Mr. Norman?
Good evening. Tonight's financials are from October. Just fair warning in advance, this is the worst month of the year for us. We have not collected any ad valorem taxes up until this point, so they just kind of are what they are. Nothing really to see in revenue. The only thing that sticks out is the Medicaid. That was a cost correction from FY23. They sent us like 33K, which is why that number is high.
So are we gonna get more than 100% then?
We should get a little more than this, than the 70 overall. For expenses, our expenses are still a little high. In general, a lot of that's still just software costs and stuff at the beginning of the year. The ones that stick out is general admin. That expense was our workers' comp. It was around 44K, which is around 13% of that number. Sport services, that was the YAS implementation. It was 40K, and it was like 7.5% of the 40%. And the M&O, we paid our property and casualty insurance at the beginning of the year. It was 130K or so, which is about another 13% of our total expense. So taking that into consideration, we're not in that bad a shape. Balance sheet's pretty standard. Nothing jumps out there.
Question, real quick, back up on the first one. The budget number for the taxes coming in, have they given you a number? Do you know if that's pretty accurate as far as what we'll be receiving from the county?
No, I do not, and that's still actually the original. I need to do an amended to show what it would be, but I think it should be closer to 6 million now.
Okay, that's what I was going on. I knew it's 5.3 now, but I wasn't sure if the tax office had given you a number as to what that would be.
Not yet.
Okay.
Did they call or you have to call in?
They call and tell us to come pick up, so we should be receiving something this week for the end of November.
I mean, do they project what they're gonna receive and will receive? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think our tax assessor will. I don't know if the collections, if Brenda Down's office will. So this, that one. So right here shows we have 3.7 million in revenues and 5.5 million in expenses, which is obviously 1.8 million under. This is just typical for October in the school year. Our SPOS numbers are still up. You see we had over 100 again for, that would have been October's numbers that we collected in November. And you can see our account, we have over 800 in SPOS, and I think it's over 900 in the bond. Nothing really to see there. Our CEP, so we fed over 28,000 students in November, and that, I think that was 10,000 more than we did the same month last year. And as you can see, it looks like everything is working. I mean, we're 30K in the 30K of profit for the month of November, which is a great sign to see.
Was that by the month of November or for?
That is through November.
Okay.
On the SPOS, do you know about how much, or can you find out about how much money per month we are above? I know so it takes so much a month out of that SPOS to cover our bond payment, but about how much per month are we over that? And now what I'm looking at as far as like if we looking at the SPOS down the road, about how much money, just say it's costing us $80,000 a month to cover our bond payments. You know, that would be $20,000, $21,000 more per month we'd be receiving. I'm just curious how much more we would be getting on a monthly basis.
On our collections, we are, I guess, 1 million into 12 would be 82.5, and we collected 100 grand. So just on SPOS, that's another. I think we're at 97 on average. So we're, you know, is that 15,000 a month over on SPOS of extra. And then I'm not sure on the bond. I'd have to do some more calculations on that.
Okay.
What you think is 82 a month?
That's what it would take to meet our 5 million minimum.
Right.
For the SPOS to be full. And we're 15,000 above that now. 15,000.
What do we use out of it every time, a month? 50? Is it, I know that's what we budgeted.
It's around, I want to say it's close to 2 million a year with taxes and principal. And I'm not sure on exactly what we use. I have to do some more numbers on that. We collect over 1 million in SPOS, and we can scroll down, Michael, to the bond, yes. In that, and we project to do around 1 million in bond revenue, but it'll be higher than that this year. I'm gonna say we're gonna be close to 200K over, maybe 300K over overall
For the year.
For the year.
And that's just rough estimate.
And this has been increasing every year probably for the last
Correct.
3 or 4 years, I guess.
Correct, we're getting more bond revenue now due to the increase in our tax digest.
So you're gonna get us, I guess, the surplus what we have right now, I guess, at some point. That's one of these
I can.
questions. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Financial?
So, we're feeding a lot more students since the lunches are free, correct?
We're up 10,000,
So it was a lot of hungry people over there.
I guess.
So it's a good thing we're doing it.
It looks like a good program so far.
Very good. Okay. Next item is the appointment of election board.
All right. The Lincoln County Board of Election is composed of 5 members. 3 comes from the Board of Commissioners, 1 comes from the city, and 1 comes from the Board of Education. Ms. Jandy Matthews has served 4 years in the past. as a BOE representative. So it is my recommendation, and I've already talked to her, and she has accepted the appointment. My recommendation is for us to approve Ms. Jandy Matthews to be an appointed member of the Board of Education to serve on the Board of Elections. And that term would be January 1, 2025 to December 2028.
Any questions about that? If not, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve it.
Motion by Mr. Moncrief, second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Thank you. House Bill 581.
All right. We've been meeting as superintendents across the state, discussing this bill. This board, we met with Steve Smith last month. The week after that, I met with Tim Cochran, who is the expert. He says he's not the expert in House Bill 581 in finance, along with Mr. Corey Kirby, our attorney, and they gave us a presentation. So this is just going to be a quick rundown of House Bill 581. We won't need to do any action tonight. This is just information purpose. And then in January, we can hold the meetings to determine if we want to opt out. We have to do it by March 1st if we want to opt out. So, all right, the summary. Georgia House Bill 581 was also known as Save Our Homes Act. It was passed to address the property tax issues in Georgia. The purpose of the bill was designed to help homeowners by reducing the impact of rising property values on the tax bills. The property tax caps and homestead exemptions. This bill establishes a statewide floating homestead exemption that limits the annual increase in property tax assessments on homestead properties, just homestead properties, not, this won't help the renters, this won't help business owners. It's just for the homestead. And this cap will take effect January 1st of next year. This bill has an opt-out provision. Local governments and districts must opt out by a resolution that is sent to the Secretary of State's office by March 1st of 2025. For us on school districts, the change could significantly impact property tax revenues. So Mr. Norman just talked about our revenues coming in, and about 30 to 40% of our revenue comes from local tax dollars. So that's why this is important to discuss and see if our district needs to opt in or opt out. All right. The key components, and we've already discussed, this is just for homesteads. This is your primary legal resident, and if you own 5 properties in Lincoln, then you only get 1 homestead. Currently, the homestead is at $2,000, but this particular law exempts a portion of the assessed value of a homeowner's primary residence from property taxes. The exemption, it floats or adjusts with changes in property value to limit tax increases due to property appreciation. And over the last few years, even in Lincoln County, we've had a lot of increases in our property value. And so the legislators, with good intentions, wanted to help reduce those costs to taxpayers, those tax bills. The current law states that you must reassess every 5 years. The new law, House Bill 581, the reassessments must be done every 3 years. When they wrote this legislation, they put into the legislation that the city and county governments could create a FLOSS, a 1% sales tax, to help when they lose revenue. But the school districts, we don't have that option. So with this bill, the county and city could opt in and then create a FLOSS to help with the loss of revenues, but the school district, we don't have that option. And we can't go in with them. So that's one of the downsides to this legislation. The amendment was on the ballot back in November. It passed. 67% of the voters passed it in the state, and in Lincoln County, 58% of the voters wanted us to opt in. I actually put the actual language so you can see it. That was the actual language on the ballot, and of course, just looking at it, who would not want to limit the increases in the assessed value of homesteads, which reduces the tax bill. All right, so just a quick example of what it would look like for Lincoln County, not to get too much into the weeds, but in tax year 23, which is our FY 24, the taxes levied in Lincoln County was $5,535,611. If you can circle that, thank you, sir. And then in this current year, it rose 10.92% to the $6.14 million. So Lincoln County would generate this. The question was earlier. Lincoln County would generate from local taxes $6,140,279. Now that's if everything was in the old law, the way we do it now. With House Bill 581, it would cap it with the rate of inflation or CPI. CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. So capping the previous year up until the new year at 4.1%, the district will lose about $377,000 if we opted in. So the capped brought in less revenues instead of us going with the market value increases. All right. So this is the slide that all the superintendents have been working from. I can go through all of these with you, but I think if I'm just going to hit the column G, which is the current revenues. So if we are not in House Bill 581, our current revenues from just homestead properties is $2.5 million. Okay, that's our current revenue. If we were to cap it and go and opt into 581, the second to the last column, the new revenue would be 2.2 million, and that's the difference you saw with the last page. So this formula was given to us to calculate previous years just to see how Lincoln County would have fared those previous years. So had we been in House Bill 581 in 2019 up until now, the district would have lost a cumulative total of $835,987 in 5 years. And granted, we talk about equalization a lot. Some of those years we lost equalization, so that really could have compounded the losses to our school district if we opt in.
So $377,000 is roughly one meal right now.
That is correct. Yes, sir. Okay. And I have slides if we want to go through that. Now, we talk about, let's talk about the individual taxpayer. So what I've done, and I'll try not to complicate things, what I've done is put the old law, which is what we're under now, and the new law, House Bill 581. Let's start with the old at the bottom. So if you have a house at $200,000, and last year it increased by 10.92, which is what it did, then the reassessed value would be $221,840. 10.92 increase, that's the new market value rate. We multiply it times the assessed value, which is 40%, and then the assessed value on that home would be $88,736. And then most local homestead exemptions are $2,000. You would subtract that, and your net taxable would be $86,736. Multiply that times your millage rate, and then that's how you get the tax bill of $1,264.52. All right, so that's what we're currently under now. Let's go to House Bill 581. So same example, the $2,000 home, $200,000 home in 2024, it increased in value by 10.92% to $221,840. Under House Bill 581, you would multiply that number times the CPI, which is that cap. So last year, the cap was 4.1, CPI, Consumer Price Index, and you add that back to the 200,000 and you get $208,200. Okay, you take that amount, multiply it by 40%, and you're at the assessed value at $83,280. Now, the name of the bill is this floating exemption. So that column, the $13,640, is your floating exemption from the difference of the $221,840 minus the $208,200. And that difference is $13,000 now in exemption versus the $2,000 of the standard deduction that you have now. So you see the big difference in this new law. So the net taxable now on House Bill 581 would be $69,640 times the current millage rate is $1,015.28. So if you look at the old law versus the new law, House Bill 581 would save the taxpayer $249.24 per year, on average that year for that particular example. Any questions?
And then if we have to raise them on meal, they're gonna go
Yep.
right back to them.
Yes, sir, I'm coming up on that. Yes, sir. All right, so the pros and cons. Pros and cons of opting out of House Bill 581. Districts, as we do now, we can tailor our tax rates to the specific needs and financial conditions of our district. You guys every month get a financial statement from our CFO. We pretty much know what's coming in and what's going out. And so this helps us predict predict better numbers for millage rates and how we can support our existing programs. And 1 and 2 kind of go together because we want to provide the high quality education here in Lincoln County, so we want to be able to maintain the programs, the staff, the facility maintenance with the revenue that's coming in now, so that we don't have to raise the millage rates. And then the con of opting out, of course, is taxpayers are going to want the relief from a lower tax payment. And that is what it is. They would be saving it. The only problem is, we've talked about it, you save on this end, but we still may have to raise the millage rates to cover our costs in the school system. Because again, 30 to 40% of our revenue comes from taxpayers. All right, so the required meetings, so next year in January, we have to have 3 public meetings, just like the tax hearings. One must be between 6 and 7 at night. We must advertise in the local paper, on the website, and they have the verbiage that must be printed verbatim in the advertisement. We must advertise 1 week before each hearing, and the same rules apply of not less than 30 square inches on the website and in the newspaper. And the copy of that resolution must be filed by March 1st. If it's not in there by March 1st, then we automatically are opted in, and there is no opt-out after that. So we have to meet that March 1st deadline.
We can opt out, and always go back in, but we can't opt in and always go out.
That's correct. Correct. All right, so final notes, just to wrap it up. House Bill 581 had great intentions. Our legislators had great intentions to help taxpayers reduce the financial burdens of the increase in property tax and assessments over the last few years. I believe we need to trust the elected officials who are elected by the people to make these decisions that best affect Lincoln County. You know what's best for our county, and so you approve the taxation that is best in the best interest of our residents and our students. If we opt in, we have 3 options. If the revenues don't come in, we have to raise the millage rate depending on the CPI or rate of inflation. That number fluctuates too. If you saw on that chart, last year was 4.1, the year before that it was 8.1, so that number fluctuates. We may have to start using our reserve funds to offset the loss of revenue. And when they run out, then we may have to increase the millage rate. Or number 3, what we really don't want to do is cut program services and personnel that are most needed for our students. The Georgia School Superintendent Association, they're surveying all the districts regarding their plans to either opt out or opt in. And 78% of the districts that responded to the survey are opting out. So that's 76 are opting out, 21 opting in, and 22 are undecided. And it's kind of late to be undecided, but there are districts holding out because of this. I mean, it's an important piece of legislation that it could affect not just this year and next year, but years to come. So once you opt in, you may be in for the next 10, 15, 20 years unless legislators do something different. I have a list of all the school districts who are opting in and out. I don't want to share that with the public, but of course we always look at counties surrounding us, what they're doing, and we have those meetings and just talk about in general what would that do to our revenue and to our tax base. I also list some websites for us to look at, webinars, websites, PowerPoints of information about House Bill 581. And you'll have a copy of this where you can go in and click on it and look at those documents.
So if we're maintaining right now, as far as just across the board with the money that we've got coming in versus the expenses going out, and we opt in, and it costs us $377,000, then naturally, we're going from 5.35 million to 6.14 million in taxes. That would actually cover that. $500,000 would cover that.
And remember, we lowered the meal. It was at 15.07 now. We lowered it to a half a meal
Right.
with that increase. And so, again, that gives you guys the flexibility. You look at these numbers, so you know how to best justify what's best for this community and our students. Because we could have lowered it a full meal, but we didn't want to go below the 14. So equalization is a part of this. If you go below 14 as you're lowering it, and you opt in, then that's a lot of almost a meal we talked about in lost revenues.
So there's two options: opt in, go up a meal on your taxes, or opt out and leave the millage rate
But
where it is.
if we
Pretty simple.
opted in, you may not have to do anything with the meal right now. If we looking at $500,000 right now.
But you're gonna have to very soon.
And that's still based on the taxes that's coming in. I don't know, have we reached a plateau with our tax evaluations, tax assessments? Is that as high as it's gonna get? Is it gonna drop? Or is it gonna keep spiking? So that's the information we don't know right now.
I
And
think
that's-
with the amount of houses that you're seeing coming in the county, I think you're gonna see an increase in
Well,
that.
That's good news.
But I don't know that.
Well, he only assesses a third each year, right? And depends on what area he does.
Right.
Depends on how much it goes. It's so many variables, it's crazy.
I did call him this week, Mr. Dare, and his response now is that he looks at every single property every single year.
He's busy.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to do.
And again, the software for this program has not even been developed yet. Because if the county opts in, the city opts in, we opt out, it's just who's gonna keep track of all that, and it's gonna be tough on the tax assessors, and that's what some of the presenters have said. It's gonna be a nightmare for our tax assessor's office.
So are we looking at about the same amount of money? If just say we opt out versus raising the mill. We're looking at about the same amount of money to the taxpayers. I mean,
Yeah, you can go back up to that.
because I mean, if we opt out, basically we're gonna be gaining the 377,000. They're gonna be losing it. The school would be gaining it, and the taxpayers would be losing it. But how much would it be if we raise them a mill? Would it cost them more than that?
So I did a spreadsheet on that showing the increases, and maybe that's one thing I can bring back for the tax hearings, to show them the 15, let's say we increase it to 15, what that would look like versus a different
Right.
revenue stream.
Because I mean, the money's gonna have to come from somewhere.
Yes.
So we'd have to do, unless our taxes just keep increasing. We increased $500,000 this year. If we increase that another year, then naturally we could probably do okay with that. But
And based on the spreadsheet I did for the leadership team, I think I showed the 15 increase, and it comes close to meeting the needs of if we opted in. So yes. It shows you would have to increase it to meet the need, to
Right.
continue
in
as
order
we're
to
going.
get the income.
Yes.
I just have one other question. The
And remember,
meetings-
CPI could change, so don't forget that. So
Right.
go back to that chart again.
And
down.
equalization
That
too.
one.
We may lose equalization too. We don't
Yes.
know.
If you see the CPI over the years, it has changed. I mean, it's gone from 8% to 4 to 1.2. So that's something that's out of our control too. So those are the cap numbers, and we still don't know if they're going to use the rate of inflation or CPI. They haven't said it yet.
Did you say 85% are opting out?
I think my math is wrong.
Yeah.
79%. 64.
64, it said 85 on there.
Yep.
64 is opting out.
Yes.
Are they gonna end up punishing those 64% in some way later on?
I hope not.
I'm just wondering,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's-
it's always,
It's public record, and I have a copy of it, but
So we really need to be prepared and grind these numbers, because if you go back up to the one where it shows the very top chart there. Okay, yeah, well, I think, yeah, that one right there. So if we opt out, we're gonna lose 377, that was a projected, right?
if we
If
opt
we opt
in.
in.
If you opt in.
Yeah.
So,
Opting out, we keep that money.
Yep.
yeah, that's right. So if we opt in, And you said that on $200,000 home, that's roughly $250 taxes. If you divide that into 377, that's only 1,500 houses. How many people are taking the homestead exemption in the county? I'd like to know that.
So Kenny there gave us that, so I do have
He
copies
did?
of that, so
Okay.
we'll bring that
Okay.
up at the tax hearings.
Okay, okay.
And what I didn't know is that we still have state exemptions in Lincoln County. So a lot of people think we don't have exemptions for older people. We do. And they utilize those exemptions. If you're 65 and older and your income is less than 10,000, net income is.
But they won't tell you about it, you gotta ask.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you have to provide your tax documentation. But there are several state exemptions that people use here in Lincoln County.
So the March 1st deadline, have we gotta have all the meetings prior to that, or we just gotta
Yes, sir.
decide?
No, we have to have all 3 meetings
All the
by
meetings have to be prior to March 1st.
and we have to send the resolution to the state Secretary of State office. That document has not even been produced yet. The way to submit it to the Secretary of State, we don't have that yet. So I'm thinking January 1, it's gonna all roll out, and then we just have to hit the ground running in January.
So out of these potential, I don't know what number you come up with. It says 85, but it's different number of percent.
I
They haven't had the hearings either, so they don't really know exactly what they're gonna do as well. Is that right?
That is correct. So we were told, so tonight I was planning on coming with a recommendation, and then we were told, let's just wait till January and do all your recommendations then, but just give them the information tonight. And then so maybe by January, I'll have better numbers of who's opting out and who's opting in. I should. I mean, if people respond to the survey, then we'll have some good numbers.
And that was from Corey?
No, that's from the Georgia School Superintendent
Okay.
Association.
Saying to wait till January.
Yes.
Okay.
And Court to wait. I thought you meant the numbers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Ms. Williams, 76 and 21?
76 out of 119.
Well, I wouldn't count I wouldn't count the undecided. I was just doing the 76 and the 21. Maybe that's a higher percentage.
That's
I think
probably
it's
right.
about-
That's
about
right.
76 over.
78,
But that's
79%, I think.
But that's not the total of,
No, that's not. That's just the
Yeah.
total of the ones who responded.
yeah.
And some of those opting out, undecided, I've talked to those districts, they're just holding out. They are pretty much 85, 90% sure they're gonna opt out. They just didn't wanna put it out there yet for their county.
Is that one of us in at 22?
We're in the 21, because when he asked
Okay.
for that, again, there's no punishment, or it's not,
Yeah, okay.
it's just, what are you thinking?
Yeah, okay.
But we could opt out for 1 year or 2 years and always go back in, but we just can't go back out. Once you're in, correct?
Once you're in, no opting out after that. Now, the legislators could come back 2 years and come up with something brand new they could add to this law. It just, you just never know. And then, like Mr. Madison's point, what if they see the majority of school districts opting out, they may want to create something else.
Yeah.
But I just don't understand why they gave the city and county the option to create a
Yeah.
FLOST
I want,
and
yeah,
not us.
yeah. Did they give reason for that?
No, sir. No, sir.
I mean, they got a backup plan. We don't.
That's correct.
Cause they know what's
Well, we
going
do
on.
have a backup
I
plan.
mean, it says it. I mean,
Raise the millage rate.
Yeah, millage rate.
Of course, they got
And that's really what
reserves.
they want you to do.
You think so?
I think so. We got punished for not raising it.
and I will say, someone at the meeting said, our legislators really want us to roll back every time there's a rollback option to the rollback rate. He feels like they don't understand that the cost of healthcare keeps going up. They don't understand our funding, that teachers get an increase every 2 years. So they don't understand all of that, and they just feel like every time there's an option to roll back, they don't understand why school districts are rolling back. Then they're looking at some school district budgets, and they have more than 15, 20, 30% stashed back.
Surplus, yeah.
Yeah, surplus. And so they're upset about that too. So they have that information, and
What was it, 52 or 3% of tax dollars go toward schools? Is that what
Mm.
Mr.
I think
Smith told us?
Yeah.
50 is
Yes,
around 55 or so.
half of the state budget.
Yeah, half the state budget.
So that's what they're looking at, saying
Absolutely.
you
Who's
get
putting
They
up
got money.
education?
Yeah.
And it is a lot of money, but it goes to colleges and all education
All
systems
education.
in Georgia.
That's correct.
That's right.
Well, us, this little county here, we just scuffling along.
Any other questions about 581?
Do we have to discuss it next month?
Oh, absolutely, and 3 hearings.
Okay.
So-
We get to discuss
so-
it 4 times next month.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
If we
I'm
opt
looking
out.
forward to
The
it.
plan is January's board meeting, I'll have a recommendation to this board to either opt in or out, and then we just have to have those,
But if we're in, we don't do any meetings, correct?
that's correct.
Yeah.
If we opt in, we don't have to do the hearing.
No,
That's correct.
right.
That's correct.
Fine.
Yeah.
So we'll know next
There's no
first
reason to opt
meeting,
in,
right?
but.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah.
That's correct.
We'll know at the first meeting.
And so, remember, I have to have it to the paper, the Monday of the week it comes out, and then it has to sit a week so that people can see it, and then we have the meetings after that. So, it's pushing for time, because you have January and February, because March 1st is the deadline. So we will be looking at probably the end of January of having those meetings, so that we can hopefully pass it by the February board meeting, and that'll give me at least 2 weeks to file it to the Secretary of State if we opt out. But if we're thinking about opting in, then no hearings.
All right. Next thing is policies for revision.
All right, special board meetings, you see the revisions. These revisions, we looked at the state website in several districts. We don't have to post in the notice of share of sales anymore, so that's why we're taking it out. We're not under the 1992 amendment, and then all of our meetings are open to the public, and that's stated in this document already. And then we make it available after the meeting is over. And then policy LDAJ, we changed the names from police departments to law enforcement in this document, just to make sure we are consistent, because it could be the sheriff's office instead of just police department. So those are the changes for those 2 policies.
And then policies for review.
There are no changes to those 2 policies.
We'll move on to superintendent's report.
All right, Head Start, I'm bringing this back every single month. We were hoping January to get started. They are still looking to fill some positions. And they had a safety fire inspection over there, and they found that we need to submit a complete and thorough life safety plan from a licensed design professional. So we have to get that. I'm sure it's already done. We just got to put our hands on it for that building. I'm still hopeful that we can start in January, but it won't be probably the beginning of January, because we're still a week away from closing schools and trying to get things started. So I'm hoping the middle of January that we can get things started for Head Start.
And then transportation.
Yes, sir. We discussed the relocation of the transportation department. The phone lines will be installed on Monday, and hopefully we can get the transportation department up and running over there next week. This will give the drivers somewhere that they could call their own. I didn't realize that the drivers had to do so much for pre-trips and post-trips. They have to sign off. They have trainings, they have meetings, and this will give them a space that they could go in and feel like it's their place. So we're very happy that we were allowed to do that for them. At your desk, you have the upcoming events for the end of the school year and the beginning of next school year. And that's at all 3 campuses. I do want to go ahead and say kudos to the Lincoln County Middle School girls. They were undefeated this year, and they're playing the championship game tomorrow evening against Washington Wilkes at the gym. So, kudos to them. That's all I have, sir.
All right, if there's no further questions, I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Mr. Hyden, second by Mr. Munger. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. It's been recommended by the superintendent, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Miss Frankie Brown effective May 30th, 2025. I think that's just, it's 24, I think it's 25,
yes, sir.
yeah. Second by Mr. Madison, all in favor? Been recommended by the superintendent, and I'll make a motion that we accept the resignation of Ashley Reynolds effective December 31st, 24. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Recommended by the superintendent, and I'll make a motion that we hire Taisha Crew as a paraprofessional for Lincoln County Elementary School. Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Recommended by the superintendent, and I'll make a motion that we hire Brooke Davis as a paraprofessional for the Lincoln County High School. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? Been recommended by the superintendent, and I'll make a motion that we hire Miss Kimberly Wilhelm as a bus driver. Second by Mr. Heitman. All in favor? It's been recommended by the superintendent, and I'll make a motion that we approve Miss Patty Arthur as a sped teacher under House Bill 385.
Second.
Second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? And I need a motion to adjourn. Mr. Madison and Mr. Monroe.